Hello, welcome everyone. It is a Tuesday evening here in Virginia, but this might find you any other day. We know how Facebook goes, and whenever you can log in, that'd be wonderful. I have a wonderful guest here today. His name is Russ Solomon, and he is the founder of InTune Parenting. So I love that title, founder of InTune Parenting, and I love just the name of your creation. Can you tell us more about InTune Parenting?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. First of all, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate being able to speak to you for the opportunity, and thank you, for having me with you.
Yes.
And so, yeah, InTune Parents is really about helping parents learn to be in tune with themselves and in tune with their children. And I know that kind of doesn't tell you very much about it. I'm a music therapist by profession. And so I use this idea of, how to bring harmony and, let's say, peace to families. And I only work with special needs parents.
Yes.
And so there are, they have a lot of challenges. We all do as parents, but
Yes.
their challenges are a little bit different. Maybe not different. Well, different, yes, but also I think some more intense. I'm a dad. We have, what's that?
Yes, I would say that. Yeah,
Absolutely,
definitely.
absolutely.
Yes.
We have. I'm a dad. My son is 11 years old. He is, as we say, I guess, a neurotypical kid. I usually work with people who are parents of children with autism. And so in some ways I can relate to the people that I work with as a parent, and some ways I don't know what their lives are like.
Yes.
And so getting back to the idea of what InTune Parenting is, it is about how to find peace within themselves so that they feel peace rather than, stress and overwhelm. There's a
That's
lot of stress
wonderful.
and overwhelm.
Yeah, I
So I
would.
use, I'm sorry?
Yes, yes. Stress and overwhelm, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a tough position to be in.
We all experience that as
Yes.
parents and in our lives in general. But for them, it's often it's often very intense because they're not, they're alone a lot of the times. A lot of them are moms, and so there's not harmony within their lives. They're dealing with so much stuff and so much stress and things that we would never know as parents of typical children. We have no idea really. And so to help them, again, be able to parent from a place of being empowered, being peaceful, having strength instead of being depleted and exhausted, is what I call harmony. And so InTune Parenting has to do with like the way when an orchestra plays together, when all the instruments sound great, all the parts are working together and everybody's in tune and it sounds awesome. There's a certain it sounds right, and when it sounds at its best, or a musical instrument, when that's in tune, it's at its best. When an instrument like a guitar or something is not in tune, it sounds terrible, and you can easily hear that it's just not right. And so being in tune as a parent is about being at your best.
That's wonderful. I'm such a great name for your foundation. It's wonderful.
Thank
So
you.
why is it important for special needs parents to get support for themselves? I mean, as parents, in this day and age, especially with COVID-19, it's just very difficult for all of us, but especially with kids with parents who have kids with special needs,
Yeah.
there's definitely more of a need for them, especially, I guess they don't get much of a break with school not being in session and maybe camps or wherever they normally send their kids. So I'm sure they're needing this extra support. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the people in that I work with, and the people in my Facebook group are saying, that for them this quarantine is not very much different than their regular life. They don't get to go out like a typical parent can. And so, I mean, yes, there's the things, that we all have to contend with the virus, and we all have to worry about social distancing and all the correct, sanitation and everything that we all have to do. But as far as staying home,
Yes.
this is what they do. And the comments I'm hearing in my group is about, maybe you guys will understand me a little bit better now. Maybe you'll see, and it's not like from like an angry point, like I'm saying it.
Yes.
They're like, maybe
Yes.
you'll get it. Maybe you'll get a little window into our lives. Like I can't just go to the store when I need to get something. I can't just leave the house or leave my teenage son home, because he needs
Yes.
somebody to be with him, you know. And so it's really important for, I mean, I think all parents, but particularly special needs parents, to get support for themselves, because they are mostly in this alone, and they have so much to deal with. They have so many things to deal with that we can't even imagine. And so getting the right support, as I like to say, there's a lot of ways to get support, but I say getting the right support can help them take a lot better care of themselves, and then therefore take better care of their kids. Um,
That's
and
wonderful.
one of the best things that they can do for their kids is to take care of themselves,
Yep.
you know. And so that's why it's really important. They're doing this alone. Sometimes, if they have families, they don't always get along with family. They don't always have a spouse or a significant other, and so they really are alone. So they
Yeah.
they they need to be refreshed and recharged in some way.
Yeah, that's great because I know as a parent, just in general, if we're depleted, one of my favorite mantras is we cannot pour from an empty cup. And that is so true. We need to
Yeah,
have, somehow we need to have the survival mechanisms and skills in order to keep on going. And there's so many surprises along the way as a parent in general. And we don't necessarily have all the tools and we're not here with a guidebook for parenting. So, what are some of the tools that you give parents to better navigate through life? Like, what are some of the survival tools? What are some of the skills that you give them in your
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
please.
Well, I like, I mean, what you said. We hear about you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
That's a great
I
metaphor
think
that we hear frequently, and I always kind of
yes.
add to that and flip that around and say
Okay.
that you can't. There's not room for anything else when your cup is so full. When your cup is like flowing over, that you can't like, how do you process? How do you deal with things? And so what I do, and the tools that I offer, is I help parents of children with special needs go from stressed and overwhelmed to peaceful and empowered and centered, so that they can create the life that they really want with their families. Of course, that is in relation to what their reality is. I'm not saying magically we're healing everybody and things are perfect, but in context to what their reality is of their life. Their situation is not going to change. Diagnoses don't change. But in context to that, how do they get the best life possible given those conditions? Um, and so one of the tools that I use for that is, one of the things that I teach that helps them is a technique that gives them a method to let go of or to eliminate stress and take meaningful action. So it's a letting go technique that they can learn and practice with me, and you know, get better at over time, and eventually bring it into their home and apply it to their lives and to their families.
That's
Uh,
wonderful. That's
it's
wonderful.
it's been a powerful thing for them. It's been awesome.
How do you find, or how do they find the time to work with you? Because everybody is so overwhelmed, especially parents, with
Yeah.
different circumstances. How do they find the time to work with you, considering
Yeah,
that?
I love that question. That's such a great question, because when I first talk to somebody, their concern is, it's not that they don't know these things. It's not that they don't know they need to take care of themselves, or that they have to find time for themselves. It's that they're not doing them. They're not there, and there's a lot of reasons for that. There's no judgment here for me at all. There's a lot of very valid reasons why they're not. But so the timing thing, how do they find the time? It comes down to, we're going to back it up a little bit, and it comes down to them making a decision at a very deep level about what do they want more. Do they want to have the stress and suffering and struggle and pain and all this stuff the way they've been living, or would they rather have a more peaceful way of life where they're empowered, where they can make changes? They do what they can. We all do what we can. Some things we can change, some things we can't, but it's a decision to drop the struggle and to not continue with life in a way that could give them so much stress that they get a heart attack, or they wind up in the ER or something, with a stroke, because we know these effects of stress in the body. It's well known. But what happens if they suddenly are out of the equation? Who's going to take care of their family? Who's going to take care of the kids? So they make a decision at a deep level to have peace and to have harmony to be in tune with themselves and their families. And when they make that decision, the time is available. The time is there because they're committed to getting out of the pain they're in. So I don't know if that makes sense. The other more practical answer, I mean, I hope it makes sense. It comes
Yeah, it
first
sure
from a decision.
does. It
Yeah.
definitely does. Yes,
Okay.
you'll find the time if you need it
Right.
badly enough or whatever it may be, you'll find the time somehow, some way.
Right. What are you
Make
more
it
committed to? Right. Now there are some
exactly.
people that, their child is homeschooled, um, and so that means that they're with them during the day and they're with them at night because they can never be left alone. And so like there really is a clock time issue. There's like, how do you
Yes,
possibly,
yes.
there is literally that issue. And so usually the way I kind of help with that is, um, we sort of look at their day. We take, I ask them to look at maybe the last couple of days in their life. Where are you spending your time? And so they might be looking at, going online, looking at Facebook, or looking at
Yes.
cute cat videos, or whatever.
Me.
Yeah, it's all good, right? I mean, I
Yes.
don't watch cat videos, but I definitely go online. But my point
Yes.
is that often, and not always, but often, we have a lot more time than we realize. It's just being efficient with it. And how do you spend your time? How do you use your time?
Yes, I've seen those reports at the end of the week. I don't know if you're an Apple iPhone
Yeah,
user,
yeah,
but the reports of how much time you spend in a
right.
week. And I'm just like dumbfounded by how
Yeah,
much time I give to my iPhone and my Facebook.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
something I love doing. It gives me, something to
sure.
have fun with during the day and just keep my mind elsewhere rather than getting stressed out. I love it. I love focusing on my group, my
Yeah,
positive parenting group. So that's a lot of fun. But
right.
I also wanted to know, we know definitely that there are challenges with special needs parents and just parents in general. But what are the biggest challenges that you found, like all in all? Like if you can name like maybe three of the biggest challenges that special needs
Oh,
parents
yeah.
go through on a daily or weekly basis, I'd love to hear that and how we can help them and understand what they're going through better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the first thing is I don't know everything. Okay. So I'm just going to give you what my sense of it is according to the people I work with, according to my group and so on. And I'm not intentionally leaving out anything that, might be true for somebody or resonate. So I'm talking more in bigger general terms. So obviously we know parenting is hard. We know that special needs parenting is extra hard. They feel they have a lot of challenges in a couple of different categories. They themselves are stressed, they're overwhelmed, they're sleep deprived. I mean, all of us sometimes stay awake at night thinking about something that happened in the day, right? But they're just totally sleep deprived because
I'm
sometimes they
sure
can.
anxiety also thinking about, there might
Yeah,
be some needs that come up with them, with anxiety
for
or
sure.
other kind of, ailments because of the stress of taking care of special needs
Right.
kids.
They
Yeah.
they need a
Yeah.
break. They need a break. So
Yeah.
they are very anxious. They feel guilty about things. Sometimes they won't say this, but sometimes they feel even resentful of their families. And it's not that they don't love them. I know they love them very much. But it's like it's not the life they planned. When you find out you're going to have a family, it's like you don't ever think that that it's you'll have all these challenges. So that's what they're feeling. They have all those things I mentioned. And they also have to deal with other things like being judged by strangers. They get these crazy
Yes.
looks from people that don't even know them. They have to deal with the hurt and the pain when they're a child is rejected by other kids, or they're not invited to
Yes.
birthday parties, or not, they can't go on the playground. The kids are not like, hey, come on over. They're sort of
Mm.
rejected in society in a way sometimes.
Yeah.
They have to fight for their kids all the time. They have to fight for the right services and OT and PT and all these right services and education, right? They have to, for their IEPs, the individual education plans.
Yes. Yes.
They have to. That's a very stressful meeting when the parent comes to the school and has to fight for the right for their kids and make sure they're getting all the correct services in school.
And I
Um,
know sometimes like the IEPs, a lot of parents, after they get it, they don't feel like it's been fulfilled or their needs have been
right.
met. So that's like another stressor right there.
Yep.
So
They're always in mama bear mode. Mama bear.
yes, yes, fighting for their kids and
Right.
doing what's best. And sometimes having that, tough exterior is hard on you. You
All
can't
the
let
time.
go and you can't just be in,
Yeah.
place of peace and serenity as easily, as someone who's like maybe a yogi would. So you have to learn those tools.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's, it's very, very intense. And they also, the last thing I just want to mention with this, I know
Yes.
we want to move
Yes.
along, is
No,
that,
no. Yes.
so
Yes.
okay, is that not only are they dealing with like their own feelings and strangers judging them and fighting for their kids every time they have to go to a doctor or a therapist to show
Yes.
up to school, they're also dealing with the behaviors of their children, which is really the source of a lot of their stress.
Yes.
It's not the kids, it's the behaviors that are driving them crazy sometimes.
Yes.
And
It's
so
not who they are. Yep.
yeah,
Not who
oh
the kids
absolutely.
are. Yeah.
Their behavior is a reflection of their experience, and
Yes.
their behaviors are, like obsessing. Meltdowns are massive. That's a really
Yep.
painful thing. Sometimes it's sensory overload. Sometimes they need sensory stimulation. Sometimes they're very impulsive, or they experience a lot of dysregulation. So they fall apart when things aren't exactly, it's a schedule change. Oh my goodness, with the corona thing, the massive schedule changes for some. Uh,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
all of these, there's all of these things. And the worst part, I think, is that often they neglect their own needs because they put the needs of their kids ahead of their own, which makes a lot of sense. And at the end of the day, there's just no time left to take care of themselves.
Yes.
So those are some of the really big challenges that I've seen. And it's not their fault. There's no judgment here. I mean, if you have to choose between like doing something for your kid or for yourself, you're always going to put them first. Any parent would do that. But when you
Yes.
do that regularly and you have no way to recharge and refresh and refuel, it just, wears you out. There's the overwhelm and the burnout.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's very
Yeah.
tough, not easy. And I wanted to find out, since there's, all these tough issues that these parents have to deal with, what are some wonderful success stories that you can tell us, especially
Yeah.
from InTune Parenting? What have you learned? What have they learned? What are
Sure.
some great stories? I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, sure. I have a couple. Are we
Wonderful.
okay with time? I don't, what's the
Yes,
time?
definitely. We're totally okay.
All right. You got a couple of
Yes.
weeks now.
Yes. Let me
No,
look at
no.
my schedule.
Yeah, right. No, we're here. We're here.
Great.
I guess the main point here is that they're facing a lot of the challenges that we of parents of typical children face, but it's way more intense for them. Not that we're not alone. Not that there's not a lot of us going on our own doing this, and as single parents, but it's so magnified by all those things that I mentioned. And so there was one lady that I work with, who, when I first spoke with her, she was at a breaking point in her life. She was really desperate. And that's the thing when we talk about how do you find the time. It depends on at what point they're at. I mean, if it's a casual, oh, maybe I'll see how I can be a better parent. That's not the people I work with. These are people like, I can't go one more day like this. Please help me. Please give me something. So those are the people that find the time for it, because the
Yes.
pain of not doing something about it is much worse than like, tell me what I have to do. I'll just do anything. Like if we're in pain,
Yes.
like we said to the doctor, please help me. Right?
Yes. Yes.
I'm not a doctor. But
You're
so
a
this,
doctor of music.
nah, not
Well,
technically.
well, close to it. Yes. Yes.
Right.
That's your background, right? Don't you
That's
have
my
a background?
background. I'm a board
Music
certified
therapy.
music therapist.
It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a great job.
Yes.
Um, and so this lady was really, really stressed out. She was at a breaking point. And she told me she talked about how amazingly stressful the mornings were for her and her daughter. She had a daughter and a young son who's a toddler. Daughter was school aged. Her daughter would always would fight her in the morning. She couldn't manage time on her own. She needed constant cueing and supervision. And if she didn't get all that help from her mom, she would miss the bus. And that would be bad because now my client would have to like disrupt her little toddler child who should have been sleeping at that point, wake him up, get him in the car, get everybody in the car, rush to school, and that screws up his sleeping schedule and the home, all this, you can feel the turmoil in that. And like
Yes.
crazy thing, this fighting and pushing. And so she actually was one of them who told me that she started to resent her kids a little bit. And you could get that in this sense. I mean, it sounds like a crazy thing to say, but if there's no break ever, there's no land in sight, no way to like kind of relieve this pressure. Of course, you're going to resent that after a while. I mean, it's very understandable. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, she pours her heart out for her family, and she felt like if she felt guilty about doing anything at all for herself because she would feel like she was abandoning her kids. I mean, these are her
That's
words.
tough.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh,
Yes.
yeah. And so here's the deal, right? Not all the tough stuff. What was the success? So the
Yes.
success was, um, we worked together for a little while. She learned this method, this letting go technique that I teach, which is a part of what I do. It's not the whole thing. And some really cool things started to happen within a couple of weeks of her learning this. Um,
Yes.
there is a, I have a quote here that I'm looking at because she says it better.
Awesome.
Her quote, this is what she said about that. My relationship with my daughter is really transformed. Starting the mornings on school days is much more peaceful, and she has much better cooperation. Starting the day in a peaceful way has a ripple effect that goes throughout her day. Letting go has enhanced my parenting in that it has helped me not be so regimented and trying to get to the goal by dragging her along in the process. Now she has some buy in, and I can see lightness to her. And that in turn brings a lightness and a peacefulness to me.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It's so
And
powerful from that struggle and pressure to like just this ease, this harmony and being in tune is what I call it.
definitely, and as a parent, when you get help, you see it reflected in your children, and it looked like that was the exact reflection she had with her child. So it looks like you're doing something wonderful. That's awesome.
Really cool.
That's
It's really cool.
awesome. Do you have
Yeah.
another success story? Because I'm all ears.
Yeah, sure.
And
It's
then
a lot
just like,
shorter.
okay, no, go ahead. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
it.
Thank you for
Yes,
allowing me to share all this stuff because this
totally
stuff is
great.
yeah, this turns me on. This is exciting. I
Awesome.
see I, I love talking about it, but I love to like just be there with them and um, help them with. They're doing all the work. I'm not doing anything. I'm giving them tools and support and some structure and some
Yes,
information, but they have to do it. They have to do the work. You
that's
know, I can
awesome.
make it easy. No, it's the other way. I can make it simple, but it's not easy. You know, it
Okay.
takes hard work. Yeah. So
And if you could tell us too, after you tell us the success stories, like an example of what you provide with InTune Parenting, like show us
yeah,
like a little bit of a run through as to how that
absolutely.
works for
Happy to.
clients.
Yep.
Thank you.
No,
Great.
totally cool. Absolutely. You can see I'm like excited to talk about all this
Yes,
stuff.
that's
So
great.
I appreciate the opportunity for it. So there was another client I got. I was speaking with even more recently, and here is a quote from her because again, they say it better than I can, and it's a lot shorter. She said, "As I'm starting to see myself as more patient and more understanding, it's helping me to accept my spouse and my kids for where they're at as they are now, not what I wish them to be or what they could be or what I hope they're going to be in the future, but just accepting them where they are at their process or in their process right now. Right there. So she's just stopping wanting to change them and wanting to control them and wanting them to be different than they are, which
Yes.
is a great concept. But when you live it in your heart, you're just allowing things to be as they are. That changes everything.
That adds much more
Right.
peace and less stress, less anxiety to one's environment. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
Great.
cool.
Two wonderful success stories, and I'm sure more on the way. That's great. Can you tell us more about Intune Parenting and what someone
Yeah.
can expect if they sign up for Intune Parenting?
Well, sure. Yeah, let me talk about that a little bit.
Great.
So I don't. So I'm glad I was able to talk a little bit about the results that we're getting. They're really
Yes.
cool. When people get a better understanding and more patience with themselves, um, they can show up in a way that's more empowered and more like a healthy way. You know, a strong emotional stance as opposed to being wanting things to be different and fighting against things that fighting against reality. You can't fight what is. And so when they show up that way, they're able to provide at a different level, to step up and to provide at a different level. And so the way I help people achieve that is through a course that goes for 8 weeks. And it's an online, there's a few different components of it. There's an online component where every week they get a bunch of videos to watch, and each video has an assignment or things to think about, things to do, something to learn. And they watch the videos at their own pace, which is really cool because I can't get everybody together in the same room at the same time. Nobody, that's like
Yes.
impossible. So they watch the videos. It's totally online, and as it works for them, they watch the videos and they do the assignments and so on. And that helps with their time because they schedule it. When you have a few minutes, oh, let me just watch a couple minutes of a video or
Yes.
whatever, right? So that helps with their time. It's not like they have to show up on time. And that gives them the information and the kind of the nuts and bolts of things, but that's not that doesn't do it. That's not enough. So we have a weekly group call that it's a Zoom call, and everybody gets together
Nice.
once a week. And that's
How
where,
many how many members do you have like participate in that, and how long does that go on for?
yeah. So right now
Like,
there's 5 people.
great, great.
There's 5 people in that group. So they're watching the videos. They're all at different parts of the program of the 8 weeks. Each week unlocks as you get there in calendar time. Each week unlocks and new material will open up. So I pace it that way. They can't get ahead of where they need to be. So that call is important. I give them support and clarity if they need anything cleared up about the information. We practice the letting go technique. We practice a lot of, I help them to use it and practice it so it becomes a thing they can do on their own very easily.
Wonderful.
And so they support each other. And it's where really important part of it. I mean, I can give the support, I can give the knowledge, I can give the teaching, but they have to take action. So a really important part of the group call is them, first of all, sharing their wins and their distinctions and insights from the previous week. We start off with what went good and what did you do well, and what are some of your wins, because we want to celebrate all that energy. It builds more winning energy.
Great.
But what's really important is making declarations about action steps that they're going to take for the next week. So what is going to help them get towards their goals more, which we established in the beginning. Everybody has I call it a list of awesome. Write your list of awesome. What does your dream life look like when the course is done? What do you have? And so what do you need to do each week to get there? I can't tell them that. I don't know. I can support them. I can give them the tools. I can help them practice with things, but they have to tell me. So they say it, and then everybody hears it. We all hear it. I hear it. They hear it.
So
And then
accountability. Like
accountability.
Weight Watchers. I wasn't so accountable with Weight Watchers, but yeah,
Hey, we do what
accountability
we
is good.
can. Do what we can, right? But
Yes, yes.
they show up, and you know what? Sometimes it's like, yeah, it's cool. I did everything I said I was going to do, and sometimes this wasn't the best week I ever had, and I
Yeah.
didn't do everything. And you know what? That's cool. There's no judgment. My question to that, my answer to that, is always the same: how can I support you? What can I do for you?
Wonderful.
It's not like, oh, too bad, because they're very motivated by the pain they're in. They would like to, they want things to be different, and so I don't really need to motivate them. That is good,
Yes, that's
that works.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Definitely an awesome list.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's really cool. So that's it. And there's also, if they need a little bit of help, there's a Facebook group where that's where they get the link for the Zoom call, and that's where they would post answers to the assignments that I give them the videos.
And
So
I'll include those links in my video for my group, and
that
I'll
group
do that as well. Okay.
I appreciate it. That group is a private group just for the people who are in the program.
Oh, wow. I
There's
didn't realize that. I thought, okay.
there's
Now I
two.
get it.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
two.
Okay.
So the reason I do that is because after the 8 weeks, we are complete. And so which means that they don't get the weekly support calls anymore. They don't get the email contact with me. They don't, like that part of it is our agreement together is complete, but they will always stay in contact. We'll always be connected. And I'm not going to just dump them after 8 weeks.
Right.
And so I can take them out of the group after 8 weeks so that they can't get into the Facebook or the Zoom calls anymore. But we will always have support for them.
That's wonderful.
So the other group I have is a different group. That's self-care for special needs parents. And so that would be cool to provide a link for that if anybody wants.
Definitely will. Yeah, definitely. And if somebody wants to get in touch with you for InTune Parenting, how can they do that? I'll put a link at the bottom as well as to how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, well, I could talk about that in a moment. Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to you about a quote before we go on and we end this call, if that's okay. And if you had something to say, I didn't want to cut you off because it seemed like you had something to say. I had this special quote when you get a chance.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, let's do that. Let's hear the quote.
Okay, here's the quote. I found it online, and let me know what you think about it. I think it's wonderful, and it shows tenacity. It shows mama bear, papa bear. Until you have a kid with special needs, you have no idea the depth of your strength, tenacity, and resourcefulness. So these are really strong mama and papa bears. What do you think of that quote and how it rings true to your clients and people in your Facebook group as well? What do you think?
Oh, I agree with that. I think it's absolutely true. I mean, being a dad of a typical kid, I don't know their experience in a way. But yeah, they are very strong, resilient people, very resourceful, very tough people. And because what's the choice? I mean, you either do that or you don't do that. I mean, they kind of have to be. But what I like to do that to help them see is that there are other possibilities, and that yes, you have to take action. Yes, you have to be strong, and you got to stand up and do. I mean, we all have to do that for our kids. But there's a way to do that, to be engaged, to be active, to do the best you can for your child, and not feel so much stress and burden and anxiety
Exactly.
and
That makes sense. Makes total
yeah.
sense. Yeah, I should have read
So
this at the beginning. Yeah, you
yeah, no,
need
that's all
that
good.
tough thing. We got to let go of the toughness. We got to let go of that tough facade. And
Yeah,
um, yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Whenever our kids struggle, it's just the toughest part of being a parent, even if it's like a neurotypical parent or a non-neurotypical parent, whatever the ability or disability may be, any kind of struggle is just so difficult for us to see and endure. And I was thinking that this time, COVID-19 might have been a harder time, but you're saying that, special needs parents kind of endure this on a daily basis, and now we kind of know what they go through.
Right.
And my kids are neurotypical, but it's tough on me too. Yesterday, kind of like I was at a breaking point. I was like, I don't know, this is tough. Where's school? Where's camp?
Right.
Where's my break? You just don't get a break, and it's the most difficult thing to do, but yet the most rewarding. And
Right.
yeah, it's very challenging. So what can you tell for all parents out there that are experiencing, what can you tell us as parents who are experiencing challenges, no matter what the circumstances may be? How can we get through this? We don't know when there's a cure in sight. We
Right.
don't know when our kids will be back in school. We don't know uh, what's next. So how can you kind of
Yeah.
give us
Yeah.
some uh, cheerleading and figure
Oh,
this out
absolutely.
for us?
Yeah. So, and also, I mean, I think I neglected to say this, but I should mention it that,
Yes,
we're all having to stay home and stuff. And for them, uh, there's a part that's not changed. I mean, having to stay home and not being able to leave and go where you want, whenever you want is not different, but there is something different that's important for me to mention. And that is that their therapy and their services and stuff that they get are also not happening.
that's
Or
right.
the,
I've heard that from my group too.
yeah,
And I heard that some people are doing telesessions for
right.
therapy and
Yep.
they're finding it actually okay and beneficial. But some of the services they need, might require more in person. I also heard that for
Yeah.
evaluations for some kids that are, up for certain kind of psychological or autism evaluations, they might not be able to do because of the masks that they're having to wear
Right.
for in-person sessions.
Yep.
So just definitely a lot of differences due to this COVID-19. So
Yep.
anything you could add, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So it's all we all have struggles wherever we are and whatever the situation is. And so the if you think about in terms of like, is it possible for any and all parents, no matter whatever the struggles are, to have a happy and successful life with their family, um, you know, despite all this the situation that we all find ourselves in, that we all react differently to. Yeah, of course, it's possible to have a happy and successful life, even despite your circumstances, um, if that's what you want.
Yeah.
That's the
You have to put
um,
in that work. But then
yeah,
we don't like using that name work because we don't want to work for it all the time, but it does
yeah,
take work.
right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it really, to me, it takes an openness to possibility. One of my favorite questions is, what else is possible? And if you can think about that, no matter who you are or where you're at, what else is possible? um, it opens your thinking. And it's a really cool question, if you're willing to go there, if you're willing to think about things. So wherever you are in your parenting journey, and whatever parenting is like for you, what else is possible? So if you're open to hearing that, to finding out the answer, which I'm not the one to tell you, um,
It's
it,
all within us.
yeah,
Master Jedi, Master Jedi.
I think so. There's something to
Yes.
that. So if you're open to that possibility, and you're committed to your goals, if you're committed to whatever you'd like for yourself and your family, the commitment is the thing. How bad do you
Yes.
want it? You have to want happiness and success more than you don't want it, and be willing to do the work that it takes to get there, whatever that is. For my people, the people I work with, it's a lot of letting go and learning and being open and being vulnerable and stuff. But they come out the other side like unbelievably strong with amazing, amazing strength. And
That's
so
great.
it's what I do. I help parents every day. This is what I help them do all the time.
That's
And like I said
wonderful.
before, I can make it simple for them. I can make the process simple and the technique simple, but it is not easy at all. It is not easy. And so I really honor the people that I work with. And I think of how amazing it is that they show up and they do this even when it's really hard, because they want the peace, they want the happiness more than they want to stay stuck where they are.
That's
Um,
wonderful. That I'm
that's,
so happy to hear those two success stories that, and I'm sure there's many more. So
yeah,
I'm so happy you joined us here. Even though there's like a sunny backdrop, it's really the evening here. But I really thank you for your time, your insight, your InTune parenting,
mm,
and thank you so very much. I'll drop some links for everybody so they can get into that open Facebook group forum that
sure.
you have. And what's the name of that Facebook group once
Sure.
more?
That is self-care for special needs parents. There's one other thing I'd like to say, if that's okay.
Yes, of
Okay.
course. Yes,
Because this is definitely important.
definitely.
If there's any parents within your group that are
Yes,
special needs parents, I want to talk to them right now directly, if that's cool with you.
of course,
Um,
definitely.
Only
We
because this is who I can help. This is who I work with.
awesome.
And so if you are a special needs parent that is watching this or you're listening to this, we were able to talk a little bit about the work that I do and some of the results, but if it sounds interesting to you, if it sounds like something that you'd like to, talk with me a little bit more about, what I'll offer your group is what I call a free planning session, a planning
Okay.
session for free. And that's a phone call where, we'll get on the phone and we'll talk about what are some of the challenges you're facing. I'd like to know what's happening in your life, where you are, what are your goals, what would you like to have, and what's the ideal for you given your situation.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about those outcomes. And then I call it a planning session because we'll work together on that call to come up with a plan, to create a plan about how do you get that? How do you achieve what you're telling me you'd like to have? Sometimes it doesn't always mean enrolling with me and with my program. So my goal is not to sell you into anything or convince you of anything, but it's to really give you a lot of value on that call. So if it's, we come up with a plan right there and then, so when you hang up, you have actionable steps, you have things you can do. If it turns out to be my program and we find that we both feel we're a really good fit together, that's cool, that's awesome. I would invite you to enroll. If not, that's equally as cool. That's fine. You at least, you spend a couple of minutes thinking about things and maybe you have some ideas you didn't before and you have a plan, a direction to go in. So if you'd like to do that, if that is something of interest to you, I do have some openings the next couple of days on my calendar. And
That's
I'm going
one.
to say a link now, but maybe we could put the link into,
Definitely say the link.
okay.
Yeah, that'd be
And so
great.
what this link is a link to my calendar. So when you go to this link and you click on it, in the comments below or whatever, you're going to go to my calendar page. You'll see what's available, what's still open. Choose whatever time you want. I will call you at the time you choose. When you see when you get a phone call at the time you chose, it's me. People are like, how do I know? How do I know it's you? Well, you chose 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock. It's me calling. Please pick up. That would be good. um, so, you asked for the call. I'm not spamming you. So that's the deal. You'll see what time is available, and I'll be happy to talk to you a little bit. But here's the thing, because you have a really big group, which is awesome.
Thank you.
Please only
And I
book the
love,
call.
yes, I love each and every one of my members. Just
Yes, of
had to say
course.
that.
You
They're
bet. We
great.
we
It's a
do
great
appreciate
group. It really is a great group.
it.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
But only book that call if you're serious about wanting to have a plan. If you're serious about, committing to change, even if it's just for that phone call. And you don't know, we don't know yet if we're a good fit for anything further. If we are, we can talk about it. If not, that's fine. But it's not for people who just kind of want to stick their toes in and just say, oh, I don't know, maybe it sounds okay. And, it's not just to dabble. This is like, you want to take action. You're ready to take action. Again,
Great,
whether it's with me or not. But
great,
that's an important distinction. So you're committed, you're resourceful, you're ready to show up and that kind of stuff. So I hope
great.
that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. We do have some members who have family members who do have a
Okay.
disability. Someone
Yeah.
who just wrote in the other day who had a question. So I think she'd probably be somebody who could talk to, and maybe a couple of other people that I can think
Yeah.
of. So
If you
hopefully
want
they'll
to.
see this interview and they'll know how to get in contact with you. So
Okay.
you give us the details of how to get into your
Yeah,
calendar?
let me do that. Let me give
Okay,
you
great.
this is the
Awesome.
link to my calendar.
Great.
And so it is, I'll say it, then I'll spell it for you. It is
Great.
intuneparents.com/let's talk. Let's talk. So it's IntuneParents.com. And then there's a slash, I guess it's a forward slash, let's talk, LETSTALK. There's no apostrophe. That takes you to my calendar page, see what's open and go for it. And if you do, I look forward to speaking with you. That would be
Awesome.
awesome. These are great calls that people tell me that when we hang up that they get a lot of value. And
That's wonderful. And what can hurt with a free call, you know?
absolutely.
That's great. And what can hurt? You're just going to see if it works out for you or not.
Yeah,
And
right.
thank you for offering that. That's a wonderful thing to offer our group.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you
Thanks.
very much for your time. You're wonderful. Russ Solomon,
Thanks.
InTune Parenting. Thank you very much. My
Thank you.
second
Hey,
interview for my
thank
group.
you.
Appreciate it very much. We'll drop the
Yeah,
links. So
awesome.
thanks
Thank you so
again.
much.
Wonderful. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you. And thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks for watching.
Great.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.